Everyone, welcome back to 2 Hours on a Sunday. I'm Brian.
And I'm Nick.
And today my wife, Adria, is joining us back in the studio to help discuss a very underappreciated Disney movie, Big Hero 6.
Agreed.
I feel amongst the pantheon of Disney films, this one is never mentioned.
I don't think so. I feel like it's people have watched it in the past, but I don't think a lot of new viewers are out there. It kind of gets skipped over, possibly because like on Disney Plus, you might see like a robot or a big, mech suit and a bunch of kids, and you're like, whatever. You pass over it.
Do you think that has to do with any of when it came out in 2014, the promotion for it? Or do you think it has to do with like Disney being known for its princesses and not so much a superhero film?
I don't remember the promotion, so maybe that has something to do with it.
It was exclusively Baymax, I think I remember. It was like all focused on him, and it was like lots of pictures of his cute little face up front, as far as I remember.
Which I think is definitely like understandable. He's the poster child of the movie. And he's the Stitch, but in the healthcare way of the movie.
I would agree.
When it came out, did you guys watch it, or did you watch it like a little while later?
I got it when the DVD came out. I didn't see it in theaters, but I really wanted to. I remember even from like the first trailer, really wanting to see it because I was like, big eyes, big body. This is for me.
I don't even remember it coming out, to be honest, but I did watch it probably that summer of 2015 because it came out in 2014. So I think I did watch it when it came out on Blu-ray and DVD. I don't remember how I watched it, but I did watch it before 2015 because I don't know if you know this, Nick. When I met Adria in college, and our first meeting was in the St. Clair auditorium where the gymnasium is, where everybody was doing their intro to the programs.
Yes.
But after that day, we didn't speak for about a week. And it wasn't until our first kind of class where our teacher asked us like what kind of Disney animated movies we were into at the time.
Yeah.
And she had a Baymax sticker on her laptop.
Okay.
And throughout this week, I was kind of moving closer and closer to her because like she was the only friend I had.
Yeah.
And I was staying as far away as possible, trying to play hard to get.
She wanted me to make other friends.
Yeah.
But then the second we were on opposite sides of a table and I just complimented her Big Hero 6 Baymax sticker and how amazing of a movie it was, and that broke the ice.
That's awesome.
Yep, I exclusively I had a Baymax shirt, and I wore it like the next day or the next 2 days because I was like, oh, he likes the movie? Well, here we go.
Take a look at this.
Yeah.
Take a look at this.
I'm so happy that Baymax was the reason you are married.
Absolutely.
That's it. Nothing else.
To you, Adria, what does Baymax do as a character, and what makes him so lovable and iconic and representation of Hero's brother, Tadashi?
Well, I mean, character overall, like I said, the first thing I always love, I love the cutest character. In anything I watch, Pokemon, I like the cutest ones. They were the least powerful. I like that. So the big eyes, the soft exterior, like he says in the movie, because he wants him to be more approachable. I think that's what he says.
Yep.
Just like, say, Winnie the Pooh or someone else, like just the soft, cozy lovableness is just like my number one thing I always look for in a character. And it just makes me want to watch anything that has something cute, whether it's good or bad. But what it has to do with Tadashi, I guess the comfort, kind of like after a loss, the comfort that you need. And he's just everything that someone would need in those bad times. And when he goes and he gives Hero hugs and everything, just like a warm hug he is in his voice and his sweet little demeanor and the way he moves. I think everything is just like so cozy about him.
I agree. I think they dialed in the perfect amount of huggableness and that sense of caring and being that constant friend presence. They did it so perfectly and visually too. You can't be mad at a marshmallow with hands and eyes.
I think because it was based on a Marvel comic, but they translated it in a way where it feels like a Pixar movie.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
the Pixar always has that soul to it, and really bringing, because in the comic it was Hero's father who created Baymax, but I think bringing it down to his older brother and having that bond and relationship and that loss so early on really made it feel more like a Pixar movie rather than just a straight Disney film.
Absolutely. I know you two are more emotional movie watchers. Did you cry? I'm just gonna ask. Did you cry in this movie?
100%.
Okay,
Oh
good.
my God, yeah.
Okay, because I watched it today. I watched it a little bit this morning, and then I watched it when I got home from work. And the waterworks. I don't think I've felt that much emotion from an animated movie in quite a while, since probably the last time I watched this. For some reason, this movie just hits really hard, and it just it wrecked me.
Oh my God. Yeah. I didn't know if I was going to cry again. Like, I've seen this movie a couple times. The very first time that I saw it, I was a wreck. I didn't know if Baymax was alive or not at the end, and I was destroyed because I was obsessed with him. And I was watching it with my mom and my sister, and they looked at me and they weren't crying. They were like, "Oh, it's so sad," but I was just like covered in tears. It's one
It's
of the movies.
How do you not have any soul?
Yeah. Yeah.
Brian, did you think that Baymax was going to come back?
Originally, no.
No.
There's something about they hit you at the beginning. So for those of you who haven't seen Big Hero 6, I recommend watching it because we're going to be,
watch
it's a
it,
massive
yes.
spoiler, but it's about Hero. He is a kid genius, and he graduated high school at age 13. And his brother goes to college or university at this massive tech university. And his brother thinks, because he's still a kid, he's so invested in still staying as a child, but using his brain to do other things, like AKA bot fighting. So he uses his brain to build these bots to go illegally fight downtown and make money and swindle all these mob dealers. And his brother has to help him out. But what I love the most when it sets up at the beginning is when he gets home. I love Aunt Cass.
Yeah.
She's a great emotional support, that quirky aunt who wants to be as motherly as possible. But when Hero decides he wants to go out again, his brother's like, "Okay, I'll take you because you're not going out alone." But then he veers off and shows him the school, because his brother in this movie is the inspiration Hero needs in order to see his full potential. But he just needs that little kickstart and that imagination to hit him. So he introduces him to all his friends and what they're doing. And then he immediately says to him, "I need to go to this school."
Yep.
And so at that point, Hero, in order to get into the school, there's
like a science competition.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
And they
you
have
have to
to-
create something.
Yeah, and they have to wow the audience and the people at the school.
So he works probably for a month in his garage, him and his brother, and he creates basically his fighter bot. He makes a smaller version of that can, with millions of them, can create absolutely anything and help build structures, or actually it can do probably anything if you put your mind to it, because it's controlled with your mind.
Yep.
And after this competition is when there's a fire, and they hit you right off the bat with Hero losing his brother Tadashi.
Yeah.
And knowing Disney, going back to your question, Nick, I wouldn't put it past them to do it twice.
Yeah.
He loses his brother, and throughout the movie, he realizes Tadashi hasn't left him. Baymax is Tadashi. And I wouldn't be surprised if they snatched it from him again, which makes that moment at the end so heart-wrenching.
Yeah. I was very convinced in my first watch that that was gonna be it for him, and the way they bring it back, and the way they show the audience that Tadashi is the heart of Baymax. That's what makes him, that character, it's so like heartwarming. You're like, oh my goodness, he's not gone forever. And they kept reiterating that. They kept, like, Baymax kept saying Tadashi's here. And Hiro kept saying, no, he's not. People keep saying, oh, it's like he's never really gone if we don't forget him. But we keep getting that. It keeps getting reinforced over and over in the movie. And I think at each point, that's when Hiro needs it most. He's at his lowest, and then he goes lower and lower until finally they can all come together and overcome the final battle, essentially.
That's because the villain of the movie steals he steals one of the bots, and then he ends up mass producing more. So Hiro figures out, due to the one that he has left, and then he tells Baymax to go find it because they have a connection with all the microbots. And then he ends up finding the villain. And the villain, once he finds out who it is, that hits that switch that he pulls out Tadashi's heart of Baymax and puts in, his
kung fu, his only made for killing. Yeah.
And I think at that point, you can't get any lower than a 13-year-old wanting to avenge his brother's but doing it in a way that's not like the character.
Right. It goes against everything that Baymax was built for. And it's essentially in this world, well, just like ours, it's like murder is the ultimate crime. You can't come back from that. And it was so cool to see that all of his friends, or Tadashi's friend group, who's now befriended Hiro, are so against it. I really like how they were like, absolutely not. This was not part of the plan. It was a hard no. The way they've made the villains and the heroes in this movie very relatable, and they kind of switch roles, was so awesome. Like, I actually don't like Hiro for a bit, right? Because you're like, are you serious? Like, that's a bit much, kid. And it's also the fact that he is not doing it himself. It's like, you are not, he's not, adult enough to actually, commit murder. So he's going to stick a robot on them because he has the intellectual power to do it. And that's like as low as you can go in my book. And I guess in the books of the characters too. So that twist to me is so satisfying to see, like, wow, I don't like this character now. I hope he redeems himself soon.
I love that about his character too. I think it shows, like, because he's so young and the other college friends are so much older. I think that the more morality that they have is also from their age, but also because they just so happen to all be really good people, apparently.
Right.
But, I like that they now become kind of his teachers to kind of lead him along this path, just like Baymax too. He's teaching him other things. But I just love that they're like instantly going to be like, okay, well, we'll be the better influences on him. And I do like that he progresses, because sometimes I feel like main characters, they can't always be good. They have to go through something, like otherwise it's boring.
No, yeah, it's that dynamic motion of the main character. We see him at his indifferent stage, then he's super jazzed. He wants to join the school. He does something really great, and then it all comes crashing down to the point where he is almost irredeemable, and then we find a way for him to get back to that. Thank you. He's learned something at the end, right? There's consequences, but he's learned something, and it's something very valuable that he's going to do good for the rest of his life by, his own merits, but also for the honor of what his brother always stood for.
I think they also do a really good job of, we were talking about like dealing with death and stuff like that. And he is like a young character, but they don't really even talk about their parents that much. All they say is that like that their aunt's been raising them and their parents died when he was really young. So he's had to deal with this whole family, so much death.
Yeah.
And then like to at the end perhaps lose Baymax and stuff like that. Like I think to have a kid who has to go through all this emotional turmoil and everything is so interesting and so, I think, brave. People don't like in stories take that many risks with kids, like think they'll understand or be able to relate. Yep. So I love that about this.
I think you can tell an adult story that kids understand. And this is the perfect example of it. Mm-hmm. Like personally, I love this movie.
Oh yeah.
It's one of those top Disney movies for me.
Mm-hmm. Outside of the emotionality, I have a question for you guys because this movie has so much science in it, and we talk about how he has to go to do this science project, and he's only 13 or whatever. I liked science. I was wondering if you guys ever had a science fair growing up, and if you had to do a project for it like this, because I can't even fathom coming up with this, like all these science things that he does at the age of 13.
Brian, did we have science fairs in grade school?
I'm going to be real. I think it's more of a States thing.
It must be.
We had a science fair in my grade school.
Really?
We could have had it in high school, Nick, but we weren't. Like, I stopped taking science after grade 10.
I was in science, and but I was also in music. So, and I don't remember ever seeing a science fair.
We didn't do it in grade school either.
No. It was probably, if there was anything, it was like bridges or like like the science things that you do when you're really young, like the volcano or like the windmill or the water wheel. That would be, I think, it.
I think there was a program in high school, Nick, and we didn't take it, but when I think they might have gone to a fair like that when they were building their own machine cart, like their own ATV.
Yes.
I think that kind of stuff you would go to a convention for, because my sister did that for her skills competition for baking. But at the skills competition, they had those RC cars, and they had machines that would like pick stuff up and like how well this machine could do a job. I think that kind of stuff is the science fair, but we never were really shown that or like introduced to that in our programs.
Yeah, because now that you say that, I remember in a couple of our science classes, the teachers asked me, like, do you want to participate in like this, it might have been like the robot thing. It might have been like a math contest or I don't know. I'm like, well, no, because we got like the jazz band thing.
Yeah.
So, like I always just said no to that because I wanted to do music instead. Adria, did you ever participate in the science fairs?
I did not. It was only for grade 7s and 8s, and they stopped it like the year before I hit grade 7. But my brothers both did, and I just brought it up because I think this movie is so interesting for like because science is like so limitless and like so interesting, and I think a movie like this would foster kids to be so interested in science. Yep. I just, my point in bringing this up was when I was a kid, even when I thought of this, I was like, in my head, I was like, science is done. They already know all they can know. I don't think I would have ever had the capacity to think of a new thing to add to science. So I would have wanted to, but I would have made a volcano, I think.
Yeah. And that's, I think, the cool thing about science, a mix of science and art. It takes being very creative to come up with something new for science. Mm-hmm. And that's why I love science fiction movies or movies that have stuff like this, because the people that wrote the movie, they had to be so inventive. They're like, what do we make a 13-year-old kid do? What is just crazy enough to make him seem super, super smart and very gifted, but not him to be like the smartest person in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And
to not have him be better than his companions, like him not needing them, you know?
Yes. How can we make him equal to the other people, but still be underneath, Professor Callahan, who's the spearheading professor of all of this, or our like heel, Cray, Alistair Cray, even though he's like a red herring. which is cool.
Yes. That's another thing I love about this movie. They you can kind of see it coming, but you can't at the same time. The person that you think is the villain isn't really, he's still a bad guy, but he's not the villain at the end of it, which is
he's
crazy.
still a negligent piece of garbage.
Yeah.
But he's not the bad guy.
Yeah.
In the behind the scenes, they showed that they actually did all the research to make all the science sound in this movie. And in Baymax, they looked into heavy robotics in order to construct him, and they looked at the materials that actually would translate to the screen and actually building it in person before taking it to the creative team to design Baymax. And so all the inside of Baymax is actually how they would build it.
That's so cool.
That is so awesome. Yeah. Oh, I love that. And Baymax does seem very, very sound, very realistic. I've never seen like a cast member at Disney dress as Baymax, but I'm sure they've had him walking around.
I would love to give him a hug. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He'd probably be warm enough too.
Yeah.
One of my favorite shots. The whole movie's gorgeous, by the way.
Yes.
But one of my favorite shots, it's a comedy moment where Hiro and Tadashi, he's introducing Baymax for the first time. And when Hiro pushes his face up against Baymax, you get that inside camera view of and he's just, his face is squishing up against Baymax's what is the fabric?
It's like a vinyl.
It's vinyl.
Oh
yeah.
You just see him just mushing around there. He's like, "Oh my god, is that a flux capacitor?" Blah blah. But I want to go back to both of your opinions. I want to know, because Disney is known for killing off a main character to have our hero go through something.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think? Because Tadashi is only in the movie for maybe 10, 12 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But from that 12 minutes, we know what he means to Hiro. But do you think it works well because Baymax and the other characters are an essence of his brother, that you feel like you've lost Tadashi, but he's also guiding him throughout the whole movie due to the companions and who Baymax is as a character?
Wow, I never thought about the friends being like extensions of him, but that is a great observation. I think they totally are.
Yeah, you nailed it, because that's what I felt watching the movie. It was very much like, yeah, he's gone, but he has made an impact on so many people that his morals, his sentiment, his essence is like transmitting through them, and it's a way to teach Hiro step by step without actually having Tadashi there. I think it's so good. You nailed it. That's exactly what I thought.
And one of his other characteristics that makes him really important to these newest Disney Pixar movies is that he is handsome as hell. and he joins the likes, I would say, of Flynn Rider to the newer handsome Disney boys. Because
when has the Disney boys never not been handsome, though?
That's true. That's true.
Like you got, I mean, in a way, what's the guy's name from Atlantis? Oh my
Milo.
gosh. Milo. He has something to him, even though he's scrawny.
He's got a quirk.
Hercules, you got Tarzan, you got the guy from Treasure Planet.
That's true. I think the early princes have some work to do. Not my Prince Eric, though.
I was just going to say, are you trashing Prince Eric?
Never. But like Prince Charming,
right.
He's all right.
Other random prince.
Yeah.
With no name. What was that? What movie is Prince with no name?
Sleeping Beauty. I think
Sleeping
he
Beauty.
has a name, but I don't know if it's
does?
ever said in the movie. I forget what his name is.
He's just Prince.
Yeah, he's just other Prince.
Yeah.
He's actually in the movie more than Sleeping Beauty is in that movie in the second half.
Wow, you're right.
Because she's asleep.
Yep.
It's been like 25 years since I've seen Sleeping Beauty.
It's been a long time. Andrea, yes. Tadashi. He's a nice looking 3D male.
Adria pointed this out to me when we were watching it yesterday, because I didn't know all the voice actors. But Wasabi is voiced by Coach
From
Marlon Wayans Jr. I didn't put that together because I've never seen New Girl before I saw Big Hero
Oh,
6.
Yeah.
So
right.
now that I know,
Didn't have a reference for him.
I didn't have any reference points, so I just thought, it's the whole cast is
Perfectly
well
cast.
cast. It's perfectly
Yeah.
cast. All the voices top notch.
Should we
I-
get
I-
into the friend group? Because I think they're
Yeah.
all unique.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go.
All right, my favorite. First of all, who's everybody's favorite in the friend group? There's 1, 2. I think there's 5 of them. Let's
Yes.
start with that. Who's it? Mine is Honey Lemon.
Seriously?
I know because she's cute.
No, that's my favorite too.
I love her.
Like just like her little bag and
Mhm.
her like pencil dresses,
Yeah.
and she just like makes things explode. It's the
Mhm.
best.
In full color.
In
Yeah,
full-
she's
yes.
cute and powerful and sciencey still. That's why I like her. That's what I would want to do.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh, yep. Honey Lemon. Also, the name just gets me every
so
time.
cute.
Brian,
Mine's Go-Go.
Go.
Go.
Yeah, she's sweet.
Yep.
I just love Speed and her suit. The science that she's trying to create is so cool, and her suit at the end, the way she moves around, how fast she goes, and
Yeah.
how in tune she is with her own design. I just think, and she's she's stoic, right?
Yeah.
She's a serious, but she has like every single person, like I mentioned about Tadashi, they have Tadashi's kind of personality traits. So she has a full heart because she's part of this friend group, but she's the stoic pedal to the metal.
Pedal to the metal.
Pedal to
Yeah.
the metal. She wants to get her hands dirty. She wants to be part of the action. So just the fact that she's the silent one, but her invention is just so cool to me that she's definitely my favorite. Wasabi has some great lines, and then obviously was it
Yes.
Fred?
Fred.
I love
Yeah.
him too. Oh
Yeah,
my
he's great.
gosh.
He's
Um,
everybody. He's the fanboy everybody is on in the inside,
Yes.
right? That's
Yep.
he's incarnation of Tadashi's fandom of science.
Yes.
And
His
how-
love and
His
passion
love
of
for-
it.
Yeah,
So this reminds me of Brian when we talked about the Goonies, how every character is broken down into like a very simple component of another main character. That's what I feel like these ones are too. And you can very quickly identify each character. There's not a ton of nuance, but they're there and they're consistent, and you can easily gravitate towards your favorite aside from like, the main character or the main inspiration for all of them. Because I think that Tadashi is the main character in the group,
Hmm.
but we see everything through the lens of Hiro, and that's fine. But yeah, I like Go-Go too. The speed that they designed her, like the way that they designed her speed is just so good. Everything's kind
it's
of
so
like
satisfying to watch.
yeah, like she's on such an angle. They turn the camera to it, like the whipping sounds of her moving around, and like the wheels, the magnetic wheels, just that
Yeah.
the whizzing sound. Oh, so good.
I mean, every character is satisfying. There's not
Yeah.
one fault in any of the characters to make you dislike a character. They all have a purpose to this group, and you could see how well they gel together,
Mhm.
which makes Hiro fit in because I feel like he feels what Tadashi feels around. Like that's why he chose them as friends.
Yes.
You know, he's not replacing Tadashi, but he understands why Tadashi found these people.
Exactly. And that kind of goes. I kind of want to go back to Aunt Cass and then go back to the friend group because Aunt Cass, I love her character.
Mhm.
Maya
Because
Rudolph.
So good.
yeah, like great pick. And I feel like she is the person that doesn't know what's going on, but is doing her best to be as supportive as possible. And I think that is just such a genuine character. And it just shows that, like, even though so many bad things might have happened to this family, they're still grounded in like love and caring. Because like she's like, should I have bought a parenting book?
Yeah.
Yes, but she's still, but her expressing that to them is the honesty I think that they need. They hear from her, she's like, did I lead you guys astray? Did I misstep? I don't know, but I want you to know that I'm sorry and I'm doing my best and I want to be here for you. And I'm just like, you can't fault that character, and you have to love that sort of honesty.
Well, she's led a hard life. Her potentially sister or brother has died. She takes their kids. She's a single mother now, and she owns her own business, and she's seemingly the only employee there. So it's a tough life for her.
Absolutely.
And she's looking good doing it.
I was going to say, you mentioned Disney princess. Let's talk about the Disney moms. Let's put those out there.
She's ridiculous.
Mrs. Incredible take 2.
Yeah.
Adria, you mentioned this to me yesterday, is that with her losses, she also lost Tadashi the same time Hiro lost Tadashi. But she has to be what Hiro needs. She can't
falter.
Show it.
No.
Yeah. And she has to keep working.
Yep. Life doesn't stop. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing the resilience people can have for the sake of others, or for the sake of keeping other people going.
Mm-hmm.
Like very, very not the same level, but Bree went on a little vacation, so it's been Elvis and I for the week, and like working.
You're a single dad, single dog dad.
Such a weird feeling, and I thought, like, I can't do anything right now. So I could only imagine in like real circumstances where things are actually at rock bottom, and it's a human kid, and you gotta keep things going and keep things looking good. Mm-hmm. How hard that could be. And I think that these characters are so relatable to an extent that just there's a lot of people that can gravitate towards them.
I believe this movie, throughout the entire plot, really fully understands the emotional connections these characters have and how it wants the audience to feel. All Disney movies have the emotional background to their overall story, but I really feel this one is in tune because of how Baymax is portrayed. Because when Hiro first meets Baymax, like after Hiro falls and wakes Baymax up in his bedroom after Tadashi passes away, mm-hmm. and Hiro's explaining to Baymax that it's a different kind of pain, what he's feeling. Oh. And the simplicity of Baymax just walking over how he does, just waddle, waddle, waddle. And he just puts his hand on the computer to download an emotional database. And then the first thing he does is hug him.
Yeah.
They approach it in a simplistic nature that everybody can understand. Mm-hmm. Because he then goes to say, I'm calling the people you need to hear from.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. Oh, it's done.
Yeah. And, to add to that, I completely agree with you. And I think that they did it in such a way that it doesn't make the audience feel dumb. Mm-hmm. It was such an organic way of communicating loss is hard and we need comfort, and it was very genuine. It didn't feel as if the audience didn't get that Tadashi lost his brother.
Hiro.
Right? Sorry, it didn't. It wasn't confusing that Hiro lost his brother.
I think they handle too, like, they've got you, like, they show Hiro being so depressed, like, the aunt's like, why don't you try going to school, blah, blah, blah. And he's sitting in the darkness. He closed the blinds again of his bedroom. He's obviously not left there for a long time. And then just to balance out this heavy, heavy thing that happened, they just, Baymax wakes up in his brother's room, and the way he pops out in the little music, and, like, then they introduce, like, the cutest, funniest, like, lightest personality to just wipe all that darkness away. He just comes in, and it's such a good balance throughout the movie to balance out the dark stuff that they're talking about.
I agree.
We talked about this yesterday, that the script is so tight that not one scene in this movie feels unnecessary.
Yep. It is airtight.
Even with Baymax's, we talked about this in other movies, Nick, the situational comedy, especially Kung Fu Panda. He has a very Poe essence.
Yes. Yep.
But even the parts, like when he first shows up and he looks down at the bed and he looks back up and looks over at Hero and he does this little side waddle. And then like they take the time to give us the comedy. Like we already feel Hero's pain. So to let those moments sink in for the audience makes us really connected to Hero because he's experiencing these same awkward, funny moments that Baymax is unintentionally doing. Like he's waddling past the bed, he's knocking over the books, and then he looks down again and he walks over to Hero really slow. And like the scene in the after they find the villain and they're at the police station and he's doing the tape.
The tape on his
or
arms.
like he gets stuck doing things and he's like, come on, Ben. He's like, let me just deflate and inflate again.
Yep.
It's everything Hero needs. You know what I'm trying to say? It's not on purpose.
Yes.
But it's everything Hero needs in the moment to really get connected to Baymax.
Yeah, it's the innocence of Baymax that is breaking down Hero's guard and breaking down that cynicism of loss. And all those scenes, yeah, even to me, I chuckled at them. I thought they were so good. Because and like you said, they didn't take away from anything. They didn't slow the pace of the movie. They should have been there, and I'm glad that they were.
Yeah, I think you nailed it talking about timing. And I think like the animation style and those scenes you're talking about, they're not scared to not waste time, but they'll spend the time on scenes like the thing where he's patching himself up with the tape. That's a very long scene, but it pays off. It kind of reminds me of the sloth scene in Zootopia with the sloth at the thing. But I think they've traded using timing smartly, intelligently, instead of shoving bad jokes in our face, which I find is now the more frequent style.
Quick and easy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they use those slow moments to take advantage of when the plot is moving quick. Because sometimes Baymax will do quick cuts to where he's at, like when he leaves Hero's bedroom, but Hero didn't know he left. But then he's all of a sudden already outside walking across the street.
Yes.
So they're using the quickness. How slow Baymax moves is funny when they cut really fast. He's already somewhere. To how slow he responds to things, like when he's stuck in the window.
Or, I am stuck.
I'm stuck. Or like, I am not fast.
Yeah.
He's like, come on. He's like, I am not fast. It's oh yeah. And then I think they talked about this in the bonus features. Baymax's fist bump, and relaying that also to his superpower, like that. If you notice that his cannon hand is also a fist bump.
Yeah.
But the first thing you never noticed that?
I'm blowing my mind.
The first thing Hero does when he connects with Baymax is what he does when he connects with Tadashi, which is his handshake.
Yep.
Aww,
right. So you notice he breaks down. He lowers that first wall.
Yeah.
Right. To let Baymax in because he's feeling something he hasn't felt since Tadashi was around. So when he does, he's teaching him how to do the fist bump. But I just think, and they use it only 3 times when he goes, fa la la la.
Yes.
And that's the perfect amount of times to do that joke. But because every time they do it, it's like Baymax learning that that's what someone else needs, Yep.
Because he did it with
the butler.
What's his name? It's the name of a cracker, I think. Just tell me the first one. Heathcliff. It's a chocolate bar.
Yeah, chocolate bar. Heathcliff is the name.
So
my man.
Good.
Heathcliff, my man.
Now, I knew TJ Miller was a big name kind of a couple years ago. I don't know what he's doing now, but I really liked that they utilized him as a character. He was very organic, despite the fact that I knew his voice and I didn't know anybody else's voices in there really. Yeah. I think he fit very well. And it was, like we said, he's the passion for science manifested into a character.
Because he even said he's not in the he doesn't go to school. He's just
Yeah.
a mascot.
I'm just
Yeah.
hanging out.
He loves what he does.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting because he's very funny, and then Wasabi is also very funny, but in a totally different way. And that's so interesting for that friend group dynamic. Like, I feel like they don't usually have like so many kind of kooky characters. Usually there's only like one kooky character, but I feel like Hiro and Go-Go are the only serious ones.
Because Honey Lemon's quirky funny.
Yeah, she's
Yes.
cute funny.
Yeah.
Yep.
But like we talked about with comedy, nothing is written to be a joke.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
just this story and these characters living how they normally live, and that's where the comedy and the lightheartedness comes from. They're not forced down,
Yep.
our throats with these terrible one-liners. This is
Yeah.
how they naturally progress through their conversation as friends.
Yeah, they probably, when they were writing it, they probably had the scene and they're like, hey, this is actually a joke. Let's just emphasize that. They don't have to just throw it in there for it to be there.
I think it's also balanced by such cool scenes too. Like, I love in any superhero movie the suit up scenes. So like when Hiro, he wants to make Baymax that suit so that he can fight against the big villain, to be more powerful. And he's like, well, I might as well do you guys too. And set to the Panic at the Disco song, which I love.
Yeah.
I think it's Panic at the Disco. Oh my gosh. So epic, so cool. Their powers are so cool. I think Wasabi's are like my second favorite cool powers, but
That's fair. Yep.
and then you also get cool scenes like Hiro riding on Baymax's back. Once he's suited up, he gets those wings and flying through these beautiful clouds, one of the most beautiful CG clouds I've ever seen.
Yep.
Oh my god.
It was Fall Out Boy.
Oh, it was
Fall
Fall
Out
Out
Boy.
Boy. That's
Damn.
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Big
want to
fan.
thank you for bringing that up, Adrian, because I want to ask you both. In the behind the scenes, they mentioned when Hiro first takes flight with Baymax, and they were referencing like scenes from Dumbo and Peter Pan. But let me tell you something. This is straight out of How to Train Your Dragon.
I was just going to say it.
Totally.
They're full of themselves if they were thinking
Yeah.
that. Because How to Train Your Dragon was 4 years prior to this. There's no way on earth. It
No.
had the same feel.
Mhm.
It
did.
started out chaotic.
Majestic.
And then it started when they started getting hang of each other, and then it turned into this majestic flight. It's
Yep.
the exact same coming together Hero, pun intended,
Yeah.
and his companion.
Yep.
Mhm.
No, it was the same beats. It felt so much like that. I was gonna text you when I was watching, and I'm like, "How to Train Your Dragon
Yeah.
robot edition." And yeah, but that's honestly one of my favorite scenes in the movie because
Mhm.
it was before stuff hits the fan, it's just that big rush of energy. You're pumped up. You think that the characters are going headfirst into success, and you're ready for it.
Mhm.
But then there's that moment of clarity and calmness when they're among the clouds, when they're sitting on those wind blimp thingies, and you're just like,
Oh.
beautiful.
Adria, you had an emotional response
Yes.
to that because Hero, from the point where they were on the bridge, and then Baymax says, "Your emotional state has increased," and he says, "Yeah, I think so." And then Baymax falls off the building because he knows flying is working to make Hero not feel sad. But when he's on the blimp, Hero's wiggling his feet, and then Baymax looks over, and then he also wiggles his feet.
Wiggles his feet, and then
yeah.
he hits him with he says again, like, your neuroreceptors have improved. And then he's like, oh yeah, if you're pleased with your care, you can tell me to, I forget what he says exactly, but I'll shut down. And he's like, and you're like, they just had this moment of peace, and you're going to bring me back to this, like, even me, I was like, oh no, don't go away.
I loved the foot wiggle.
Oh.
It's so cute. But I think that was such a genius way to bring us back to the reality of the situation. We kind of snap out of it because Baymax, he's not receiving any of this. He's just looking out because Hero's sitting there doing the same thing. He doesn't have an emotional response to being on top of the clouds, essentially looking over the bay. And he's like, okay, are you good? Can I go to sleep now? You're like, what? It's and you think, oh yeah, we still have some more stuff to do.
Exactly.
Oh,
I think it's also trying to distract him saying that to Hiro. Hiro's still trying to hold on to this distraction that he's fallen in love with.
yeah.
And having it being taken away so easily, he's afraid of being where he was. So I think that's also a nice middle point for him bonding with the team, but then realizing that Baymax, he hasn't fully healed.
Yes. Exactly.
Still
Which
got
goes
some
into
learning
the
to do.
Yeah, which goes into the final fight after, obviously, the part that made me cry yesterday was after they fight the villain and they lose him and he leaves his friends there just on the island because he's so distraught and he's so distracted by letting the person who killed his brother go, to the scene in the garage when Baymax finally says, "Here, Tadashi's here," but Hiro still doesn't understand that. And then he pops the screen up, and it's all 300 and something
Takes
of Tadashi building Baymax and Hiro getting to relive his brother, because he hasn't seen him or even like looked at a picture, or like he closed off his bedroom at the beginning of the movie. He didn't want to relive that pain.
Yep.
And like Hiro looking at Baymax's video
belly.
Yeah, video belly, and the tears in his eyes, and how it was playing out, and Tadashi's spirit emanating from just a simple video. Like he actually felt like he was there. It was one of the best parts of the movie.
Oh yeah, I agree.
And going from there, like really apologizing to the friends, into the final battle, having a plan, becoming a team. And there was a moment where all the friends were stuck, right? They didn't know what to do. And then Hiro was the one this time to help them. He says, guys, listen, we can do this. You just have to look at things from a different perspective, just like the friends told Hiro at the beginning of the movie.
Yep.
And they escape, and it's played for fun because it's an action scene, but it really it's Hiro becoming who Tadashi wanted him to become.
Yes, exactly.
And then we get to the most heartbreaking part of the movie.
Oh.
Now, here's the thing. As beautiful, hold on. Let's talk about them going through the portal.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to save the professor's daughter, who got trapped in the teleportation device that what is the other scientist guy's name?
Alistair Crane.
Alistair Cray. He's making this so that you can travel instantly. You go through one portal, come out the other. But she got trapped in there. And as soon as we got in there, I was like, why is dimensional space this beautiful? And then Adria said, sorry, Doctor Strange, you ain't got nothing on what this looks like.
The
multiverse. It was gorgeous. And then when they finally get to, was it Madeline?
Abigail.
Abigail. They get to Abigail. He's still got his whole suit on, but there's a point where they get damaged because they're trying to fly back out, and all the debris from the building that they're destroying in the real world that's getting sucked through the portal is there, and they get hit. But I want to know how you guys feel about this. When Baymax does his little rocket booster fist pump, I thought they did it perfectly, but I think I would have held on a little bit longer. Like, when he pushed him off and all you saw was Hiro's perspective and he just kept floating away.
Yeah.
I think I would have held off a little bit long. Maybe I don't even know if I would have shown Baymax, because we know Baymax is going to be stuck in here. But I think I would have just shown Hiro the whole entire way to make it even more heartbreaking. That
would have ruined me.
Yeah.
You don't see him?
Yeah. So then when you do get him back at the end, it's more of like, oh my gosh, like I just went through the ringer, like thinking he wasn't going to come back.
I see what you're saying. It's like the absence of visualizing the character is more of a loss than seeing him disappear into the vastness.
Because we know
of
what's
nothing.
happening, right? And for Hiro, looking at Hiro's eyes the whole entire time is way more heartbreaking than that last couple shots where we cut back to Baymax just floating. Because if Abigail was okay, then Baymax is okay, right? Seeing him there,
right?
But if we didn't see him, I think that would have just hit just a smidge harder.
I get what you mean. For me, it's the crushing expanse of nothing that's terrifying and really sad.
Yeah.
But I totally understand
Yeah.
that perspective. It's it's like that loss. We don't have closure as the audience to see Baymax one last time. We don't even get the grace of that. They're like,
Right.
no, you get nothing.
But both would be perfect options. Like, it's still a perfect way to do it, because I also think it's telling the audience, yes, this is his end. Like, instead of us not seeing him, we do get to see that final glimpse of him before Hero makes it back to Earth. And yes, it's our lovable companion just floating around in nothing. Like, he's really leaving him, and there's no way for them to connect again.
Yeah, I think it's so nice too that it's something that Hero taught him. Like, I mean, they were both kind of learning from each other throughout it. And like, even though it's something small, like Hero was kind of teaching him how to be human, whether it be like downloading the emotions or having fun kind of thing. And so I think that's such a nice wrap up of the story of like, that's how he saves him for the last time, because he's kind of been saving him throughout the whole thing, saving him from his emotional and physical stresses.
Yes. Yep.
And it's Hero really letting go, right? It's his last. Baymax helped him heal the loss of Tadashi, but saying goodbye to Baymax was like saying goodbye to his brother again.
Right. Oh.
Cut to, thank God.
Yeah. I don't know how I'd feel. I'd have been a mess. I'd be like just crying right now. I'd be like, he's gone.
I loved how when he rebuilt him, because he had still the fist, because and on the inside was the heart of Tadashi. Is really what it is. And when he rebuilt him, the first words Baymax says was "Hello, Hero." Like, he doesn't forget. Like, Tadashi Baymax has a memory just like Tadashi. It's like he's basically Tadashi, is what it is.
Right.
Oh. And then they ride off into the sunset with the team.
Yo, that ending. That's like that. Which Spider-Man felt most like that for you?
Which, that's like the live action movies?
Yeah, because that's like a live action Spider-Man ending. Fist bump in the air. You're like
swinging into the sunset.
Yeah.
The Enter the Spider-Verse had that heavily at the end.
Yep.
When Miles I'm not the only one. Spider-Man 1, I would think. Spider-Man 3 was just sad because it ended with him and Mary Jane after Harry passed away.
Yep.
Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man 2.
Yep.
I think it was Amazing Spider-Man 1 when he's on the crane and you end up on the moon. That whole thing of him just swinging through the city. It was one of the best finales of those movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a superhero finale.
For sure.
That leaves you wanting more.
Absolutely.
Right. Now, I don't know. Was there more? Did we have a show?
There was a show. I did not watch it. I think I watched one episode, but just shows aren't my thing for this kind of stuff. But
it's like a 5-minute.
It was really
too,
cute.
right?
It was the shows were about like Baymax healing people. Like the crew was around too, but it was like him. Like I remember him healing a little girl and stuff like that.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
And like Aunt Cass gets hurt, so he has to run the bakery for one of the episodes.
Kind of day-to-day stuff.
It's day-to-day.
It's really cute.
I love that.
Trying to learn things.
That would be a nice, like, easy watch.
Yeah. But I wish there was another movie. I don't know if they'd ever do another one, but I would love, obviously not live action. I would not like a live action version of this.
No, you can't do that live action. I don't think they really, as much as I would love to go see a second one, it'd probably be like 10 years like Incredibles 2.
Yeah.
But I think one is enough.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Just because of the journey Hero goes on, like you can't do that same thing again.
No.
Like you've lost his brother, you lost Baymax, and you built the team. It's just them going through day to day with a new villain.
Although it's based on those comic books, right? So there might be like more interesting stories out there. I don't know how many there were, but
yeah,
that is true. But going back to the beginning, what do you think sets Baymax apart from other Disney characters?
I think I want to say his stillness, but I think the character I think he's most like is Wally. Even though Wally doesn't talk and Baymax talks, I feel like it's more about like how they move. Also, obviously, their big eyes. I think that's where their expression is, and I think he's just every time I watch that or Wally, I'm just overcome by this comfort, and I feel like if he like did my body scan, he could heal me and give me this hug that would just warm me. And I just think I just feel hopeful watching characters like that and Wally, and they're so like innocent and they have so much to learn, but they're also so skilled and cool and cute. So that's my overall thoughts.
I like that. For me, I think what makes Baymax stand out from other Disney characters is that he has one facial expression, but it says so much at every point. So we were talking about the end when they were in like the portal area, and when that big piece of building comes colliding towards the rocket ship and they're kind of going towards the portal again, the scene where Baymax kind of jumps in front to protect Hero and the ship, for some reason, my brain put so much emotion into Baymax's face that it just was like, it's like he knows what's going to happen, but he's going to do it anyways. Because he knows I don't know what they did. I don't know if it was the angle or what, but I saw it. I saw it in his face and I thought, that's how you do it. That you don't need a big, overly caricaturized character to show emotion. Totally. And I think that was what really sold it for me, for him to be like a standout character.
I think Baymax, Big Hero 6 definitely needs to be one of those movies that people consider watching more often, or like even consider among the great Disney films that people mention. Like, oh, what's your favorite Disney film? Like, give me your top 5 or whatever.
Top
Big Hero
10 for me.
Deserves to be up there amongst the greats, because I mean, a bunch of them haven't been great in the past few years. But if you could probably take this is up there with like The Incredibles and Tangled and Moana. And I think it just got lost in the year that it came out. I think it wasn't really, it came and went. It wasn't one that stayed around because there was no music to it, right? Yep. There was no songs to keep it relevant for the next year.
Yep. And when did it come out?
2014.
Okay. That was a decade ago. Yeah. And it's still a very relevant movie. I don't think it's lost any of its charm. It's not lost any of its heart in that 10 years. And I think it's going to be like that for another 10 years, another 20 years.
Absolutely.
But I think even if it does look dated at some points like other movies, Disney's messages and how they tell stories, it doesn't really matter what the movie looks like, because it's still going to play out how you felt the first time watching it, because the stories are just good.
And with that, I want to thank everybody for tuning in, listening to us talk about Big Hero 6. Adria, thank you so much for joining us. Anybody in the comments, let us know. Do you like Big Hero 6? Is this in your top 5, in your top 10? Who's your favorite character? We'd love to hear.
And did you overlook it?
Oh, yeah. And was this a movie that you overlooked? It was for me, I'm pretty sure. And I'm glad I went back to it. And I'm glad I got to go back to it again today. But this has been 2 Hours on a Sunday. I am Nick.
And I'm Brian. And we'll catch you guys later.